Hello, welcome to Truth Sentinel, watching over the truth in the news. Today's date is the 5th of September 2014. Welcome, thanks for your support. Currently still in Southampton, hope to be heading to Ukraine in about 10 days or so. Today's news. Lord Mayor of London Fiona Woolf has replaced Lady Butler-Sloss as head of the UK government inquiry into child abuse. Now, she's a city lawyer and former president of the Law Society. She has no prior experience of anything to do with child abuse, and she's pretty much part of the establishment. It also seems she may have Masonic links as well, and she's on the same one of the same institutions that Leon Britton, allegedly someone who may be one of the perpetrators of the child abuse that's been under investigation. So that's a bit weird, but let's give it all a chance and see what happens. But it looks to me like they're desperately trying to cover it up. But like I said to someone recently, only if the public let them get away with it. We've got to make sure that as many people as possible know about the people involved and don't let them get away with it. An estimated $1 trillion, that's £600 billion a year, is being taken out of poor countries, and millions of lives are lost because of corruption, according to campaigners. This is a report by the anti-poverty organisation One, which says that a lot of the progress made over the last 20 years in tackling poverty has been put at risk by corruption and crime. And it's suggesting basically that people die because all the money doesn't get to the governments, and so they can't invest in society. It's nice where they're coming from, but really, that really does assume that governments are not the worst perpetrators of corruption, which of course they are. People have got to stop thinking the people in power are decent human beings. It's beyond a joke now, President Barack Obama has vowed that the US will not be intimidated after Islamic State militants released a video showing the beheading of American journalist Steven Sotlov. And Mr. Obama warned, "Our reach is long and justice will be served." I love how they use phrases which they think are poetic rather than just saying what they think. This is the major problem with politicians. Someone writes their lines for them, they read them out. It's just, why can't they just be human and say what they think and say it from the heart? People might like them a bit better, but the fact they just come out with all this crap all the time, this fake rubbish, it's just nonsense. Occasionally I've seen in some political discussion, you get someone who just starts talking normally, like a normal human being, and they just stand out, and actually people start listening to them. Everything most politicians say are just scripted sound bites written by other people, and I can imagine they get kind of briefed on statements that have been released so they know what they've actually said in the past. For example, like someone might say, "You said that you were appalled and alarmed at the death of James Foley," just to remind you, I think if we ever are going to change society, we need to change the way politics works completely, the whole system, the way politics works, the way media works, and get rid of this soundbite culture. Anyway, let me continue. The UK Prime Minister hinted at laws targeting anyone who does not promote cohesion in society. This is after the beheading. It's quite clear they're going to be bringing in laws which are supposed to tackle terrorists, but Cameron was quite clear. He said not just terrorists. He's saying anyone who doesn't promote cohesion in society. So I'm expecting laws coming in soon where everyone has to be careful what they say, or they'll be labelled an extremist. It's really not far away. Another thing I noticed was army recruitment ads on the TV. When you start seeing recruitment ads on the TV, which I don't often see otherwise, that they're planning a war basically. They know it's going to happen. They want it to happen. They want to make money. They want to have contracts. They want the rebuilding afterwards, all the money they can make. It's all just following a script to help achieve their agenda. So this ceasefire that we also heard of today in Ukraine, I'd like to be optimistic, I really would, and I'm hoping that it will hold, because I'm going to Ukraine soon. But I don't think, actually it seems like Putin really does want to avoid this war, but I think the West has already made up its mind. I'm sure they'll, if they have to, they'll create some kind of false flag attempt. And I noticed also again that they keep using this interchangeable ISIL, just to confuse the situation. Basically also the UK said it's not going to waver in its aim to defeat terrorism. David Cameron's full of all these sound bites and this rubbish, so I can't take him very seriously anymore. He uses a word actually quite a lot. It seems to be his favourite word. And the word is robust. He says it all the time about everything. If it's something that he could possibly use that word, he'll use it. Okay, so basically at Prime Minister questions, Mr. Cameron told MPs that this country will never give in to terrorism, and our opposition to ISIL will continue at home and abroad. I mean, ISIS is a threat. I mean, I think there's going to be some terrorist incidents in the UK. I mean, in some ways, why would some of these people travel abroad to Iraq if they really do hate the West so much? They can just cause havoc here, and it's only a matter of time. They know it, our leaders know it, we know it. I just hope that it could be stopped. I'd like to be optimistic, and next week we'll be talking about optimism and positive thinking. But anyway, let's move on. There's been talk of getting together with Syrian leader Assad, and that just reveals how stupid these people really are. I mean, if we cast our minds back to when they were trying to get us all to fight Assad in Syria, they were talking about arming and funding the rebels there, the ones that were cutting people's heads off there, ripping their hearts out. And in fact, they did arm and fund them. Al-Qaeda and most of these groups are only groups together in ideology more than anything else. So they were effectively switching sides and asking us to fight with Al-Qaeda against Assad. People said no, people saw through it. But some of these groups of these rebels with the same ideology and who were funded by the West moved to Iraq and became ISIS, and now Western powers are thinking they could side with Assad now and fight effectively the same people. This is why we're in this confusing mess. We're being lied to all the time. Nobody really knows what's going on. It's chaos and confusion, and I think the next stage is probably a major terrorist attack in the West, which is going to happen. Everyone knows it. Nobody trusts our government anymore to protect us. The laws they're bringing in aren't really to protect us. They're to suffocate us and to take away our rights. Anyway, let's just sit back and see what happens. Next up for execution is Britain, and I heard a radio presenter saying that what more proof do we need? We need to get in there and attack them. Which may be the case, but isn't it all rather strange that we're all reacting to the death of one person when this kind of thing happens all the time? It's a publicity stunt, which does make people suspicious. When it's a publicity stunt to get people to go to war, you have to question who's behind the publicity stunt. The other thing I find strange is the fact that Britain's up next. So, okay, well, if they kill a Briton, we're definitely going to war. It just seems crazy to me. So a single case of someone of our nationality would take us into a war. Someone else's nationality, it doesn't matter. It's all stupid. It's like someone from our team. It's that team mentality. I've always found the allegiance to countries a bit strange for me, honestly. Especially when it comes to people's protection of it. In its most dangerous form of nationalism, it can create wars, feelings of hatred and racism, xenophobia against people from other countries or teams. Rwanda's an example. You had cases of people being lined up on a football pitch, ironically, since we're talking about sport, and they just gunned them down row after row because they didn't belong to the right team. Let's move on. Ukrainian pro-Russian rebels in the east have signed a truce, as I mentioned, to end almost 5 months of fighting. They agreed to stop firing by 3 o'clock, and it appears to be holding.